Hello and welcome to Chit Chat and Chill. So today we're going to talk about how to teach people to problem solve. I think a lot of people struggle with that where they do for the person, do, and then the person can never do for themselves. So we'll talk about that later after this. Hello. So before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Antoinette. I'm the owner of Pixel This. So it's a full service design firm. So it's basically letting businesses put their best foot forward. And if you're confused on how to do that, I'm here to help in every possible way. And before we take a deep dive in the topic, I got to introduce Lora, my bestie and co-host.
Hello, I am Lora Fickett. I own Fickett Financial Education and Business Coaching, where you don't have to have a business. You can talk to me. I talk to individuals too, but my job is to make you more wealthy. So if you're complaining about your finances or you feel like you don't have enough, stop complaining. Give me a call. We'll do a free consultation and we'll see what we can do to make you feel more wealthy, because just keeping complaining about it's not going to be helpful. I have helped thousands of people become more wealthy in their business or their personal life. And it's like what God intended for me to do. So let's talk. Let's talk about our topic. So I think this topic goes for really employees or kids, because I think when I was younger, there was no choice but to problem solve. It was like the second you got home from school, it was like go outside and come home when the street lights turn on, because I grew up in the city. And so when we had problems, it wasn't like go in the house and ask mom. First of all, I'm the youngest of 7. Sometimes I didn't think mom remembered that she had 7 kids. I think Antoinette can feel that sentiment too.
Oh, yeah.
But when we were out and about, if we had an issue, even if it was cut ourselves, sometimes we were almost afraid to go into the house and talk about the problem, because then it would be like, how did you cut yourself? Did you ruin your bike? It would be like a Spanish Inquisition, right? So we learned how to problem solve because we didn't have any Google. We didn't have any anything, any internet or anything like that. And we had parents that really just, I don't know. I mean, they had to have a thing on the television that said do you know where your kids are? Because I think people forgot where their kids were.
I have kids. Oh, it is 10. Okay.
It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? Right. So, but now as a parent of 4 kids, I find that I want to be more involved in their life, and being more involved in their life ends up solving their problems for them, to the point where they're like, hey mom, do you know how to get out this stain? And I'm like, figure that out yourself.
Yeah.
But they don't. And then I do. And then I'm like, oh, darn it, I didn't teach them a lesson. And so it's really hard. But I think it's taking a step back and asking more questions and giving less solutions is the perfect start to actually, getting them to problem solve on their own. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of, when I was thinking about the topic, that's exactly what I was thinking about, because I think there's this saying, and it has to do with stressful times produce strong men, and strong men produce strong times, and then strong times produce weak men. It's this
totally
whole big
get that
thing.
Wrong, but yep.
But you know the gist. Whatever. I'm yeah. For the next, when you want me to quote something, I'm not the person. But it's one of those. But I was reading this book, and it basically was talking about that whole premise. And it was this guy who just grew up in Detroit, and it was a terrible situation financially. And now he's this big mogul in Hollywood. And the whole point, he said, I know basically as he got older, he goes, I realized I screwed up success for my kids, because they don't have those same rough times that I did. And because of that, they're going to, if everything's handed to your kids, it's one of those things that they just don't learn to do from themselves. And I see it the differences in my family and how different members raise their kids. So the parents that buy everything for the kids, they don't even treat it the same. If you bought your kid a car, they're probably more likely to get into an accident with it in the first year than if they bought it. If they had to work, so many summers doing XYZ and believe me, they baby that thing. And I see that with belongings and all that stuff. And it's really true that you value more what you work hard for.
Right. And you know what the thing is, though? I want to give my kids stuff, right? So I want to make sure that they have things, but you do have to, if you want to be generous but still instill like good values. One of the things is like, I'm getting you this, but if you ruin it, you're on your own. Like if they have a car, you've given them a car. I wouldn't ever give like a kid a brand new car. Like I don't even, your financial coach thinks that's a bad idea, but I wouldn't do that. You give them a decent car, like a hand me down from one of your parents or, something. But like you instill in them, like, take care of this because if you ruin it, like you're on your own, so you can help them a little bit, but not let them think like, oh, if I ruin it, my parents are just going to buy me a new car and then, they don't ever have to work for anything in life. But I think like the little things for kids, the little things compound, right? So it's something as silly as like you think, oh, they shouldn't do chores or something like that because they don't know how to wash dishes. Well, yeah, like the first couple weeks maybe of them washing dishes, you have to rewash them because who wants like potatoes, mashed potatoes on their plate from a week ago? Like, I don't know how that stuff just sticks onto the plate. It's bizarre. But anyway, like, yeah, but after they get the hang of it, then they do, they can actually like figure out how to clean that mashed potato off of there. And I know my daughter, when she went to college, she was like, I can't believe how many people have never done dishes, have never done laundry. Like they don't even know how to do these basic things. And she's like, I used to hate the fact that you gave us all these chores, but now like, at least I don't have stains in my toilet bowl.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, so you think like, we think that we're helping, but we're really hurting them by not letting them solve problems on their own, because there is going to be a time when nobody's going to be around and they're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that is a really important skill to instill. And then as far as employees go, if you don't do that right away, it's going to take you more time. It's going to be aggravating that your employee is constantly coming to you for an answer. You have to be like, well, what do you think you should do? Well, what other things have you tried? Like you have to ask them and let their kind of hopefully creative juices start flowing.
Yeah.
Or else they're going to constantly be bothering you. You're going to be like, I hate having them as an employee. Fired.
No, but I have a lot of employees where they're like, well, how should I do this? Or how should I do that? Or how should I do this? And what I usually say is, look, I'm not a micromanager at all. Like, I'll give you the tools and let you know what the end result needs to be. But, you have to work out your process to get there, because my process might not be your process, and your process might be better than my process. You know what I mean? And or it might just be better for you and mine might be better for me. I don't believe anyone is the same. So how I work, it might not be for everybody. You know what I mean? Like some people are more analytical, some people are more thinkers, some people are more creative. Like even with, I own two different companies which seem vastly different, but when you're looking at like to solve a creative problem, some people just immediately start like drawing. Other people might sit there and do some research on the topic. Other people might start looking at some color, or, there's so many different ways to skin a cat. And in the end, it's just what works for you. Like I'm very methodical in my process and it gets me there. So from the beginning, it looks very slow, like I haven't done anything, but on the back end, it ends up being very quick because all my front end stuff is done. Where other people, it looks like they're further along quicker, but then they're struggling because they didn't think about the details. So, and then in my other business, same thing. They're like, well, what do you think about this? I go, I can tell you my process. I have no problem telling you how I do it, but that doesn't mean it's right for you. And that's kind of how I do it. When people I have a lot of people also come with questions like, well, this problem happened, whatever. In that case, I'm not going to say this is how I would handle it. I would just go, well, what do you think should be done? Like, kind of like Laura said, like I start seeing where their process is, and then I could kind of question, answer, oh, okay, if you think that, well, what happens in this? And then you could play devil's advocate with them. And sometimes they start realizing through their own thought process that, oh, that probably wouldn't have been the right way. And it's easier to have them do that as a mental exercise than screw up on the job. But in the end, they're still the one solving the problem,
Yeah, right. I had a great mentor, I guess, in public accounting. And everybody was like, oh my God, he's rough. Like bring a notepad in when you go into his office and stuff like that, Mr. Shapiro. And it was because he's like, I'll answer any question you have once. I won't answer it twice. So like you would literally take a notepad in there. And if you had a question, like you would write down the answer because you're never going to ask him again. But he really like taught you that if you want to refer back to your own notes because you forgot what the conversation was, that's fine. You're not wasting any more of his time, but you're going to figure out how to solve the problems on your own because you're not going to go in his office and waste his time. You know, partners bill out at a much higher rate than staff people do. And everybody thought he was rough. Like they're like, oh my gosh, he's like rough. But I thought like, wow, like he totally respects his time.
Yeah.
You know, and he expects you to respect his time. So he's not hand-holding or coddling. Like you're all adults, even though you're 20-something, early 20-year-olds and stuff like that. And I think like we do a little bit too much where maybe, I don't know, maybe our society is too fast-paced or impatient or whatever that we just want to jump in and do it or just give them the answer and get it over with. But sometimes my husband says slow is smooth and smooth is fast. That's from the military. So all you military people, you're like, yeah. But it's totally true. Like, because sometimes when you, like I said, when you take the time to train somebody, it's slow, but then they do it all themselves and you never have to do it again. Then it's fast.
Yeah.
But if you don't give them the opportunity to problem solve, you're not working their problem solving skills.
Yeah.
You know?
And I find too that some of the problems too, I think on the business level too, is sometimes you have to think about training versus, you know, throwing them into a situation and then letting them see, you know, kind of like how I learned to swim was I used to have like a little bubble that I put on my belt.
They didn't just throw you off the dock?
Well, that's what they did eventually. Yeah. So I was like 2 or 3 and I had that and they were like, enough of that. So when, you know, my brothers just threw me in and at some point when I was like underwater, like, you know, I was like, oh, wait, I got to the top. You know? But, you know, there's that type of situation. So I try to mix, especially on the employee side, and just mix some learning exercise that are slower paced with ones that they kind of flail a little. Because if you have them flailing constantly for 2 weeks straight,
oh yeah,
that's not a good environment where somebody wants to stay. Where if you kind of do a slower paced, and then I have sometimes like, in one of my businesses, there's a ton of information to learn very, very quickly. So people feel overwhelmed. And I always say, look, it's like drinking through a fire hose. I don't want you to feel bad for something that's it'll take you an hour and a half down the road, but the first day it's going to take you 8 hours. That's the process. Don't beat yourself up. And they'll still do it. Like, even though I had that conversation, but it's like, no, you know, they're like, I'm sorry, I'm doing so bad. I'm like, no, you're not. This is typical. This is a typical growth pattern. If after
everybody's awful.
Yeah. Everybody's awful on day one, you know, but it is one of those. And I think part of the problem too is kind of back to the kids and employees. If you're one of those that coddles your kids, you're setting them up for failure in a work situation. Like when we're talking about the quotes, I actually do remember one, and this is my mom, so I actually know the source, but she would always say, it's time to cut the umbilical cord. And she was a true believer that you do it very early on, and then they become very independent. And then it's not one of those like, you know, my first day at kindergarten, it was just literally go out the door, make a left, wait till you see people your size and follow them. You know, that.
I think she might not be the originator of that quote. I'm just thinking I have heard that so many times.
No, I know. But
that was our parents' way of justifying not taking care of us.
Yeah. No, but it's so true.
We're cutting the umbilical cord. You're 3, you're on your own.
But it was one of those, like, I see so many people that were coddled and then they struggle in life. Like, you know,
they struggle with stress.
Yeah, and they're
overwhelmed.
Or they're never going to be entrepreneurial because everything was always kind of done or whatever, because it's like, if I need to do something, well, I'll help fund this for you, or I'll help do this for you, or I'll help something. And it's like, no, you have to let them fail. I mean, fail miserably. Mm-hmm. And it's easier to do when they're 5 than when they're 10, than when they're 15. Like, the longer they wait to have their first, like, oh my God, fall down, egg all over their face, I really screwed up, now I have to learn to do. And it's an easier lesson to learn earlier on. But, when all of a sudden you've been coddled, and then you get to a job and you're so, you've been told your whole life you can do anything, you can be anything, and as long as you want. Well, it takes work. It's not because you wish it's going to happen. Or, if they mess up on a school assignment, parents are like so into like, oh, they have to get good grades, and good grades is going to get a good school or a good this, and let them fail. If they need an F, you know what I mean? The next year, they're going to learn, like they're going to have to learn to bring those grades up themselves. And there's not always going to be somebody there to catch them when they fall.
I've never done a solar system project or a diorama, like that kind of stuff. I didn't like bring my kids their homework when they forgot it or any of that kind of stuff. I didn't even tell my kids to do their homework. Like I would casually say, have you done it? Whatever. And if they don't, I'm like, okay, fine. You can go to school and like you can suffer the consequences of not doing your homework because I'm not going to school. I don't care what the teacher says. And so they learned that, they either did it and they didn't get any harsh words at school or they didn't do it and they felt silly, that kind of stuff. But I do know I've still made my kids' life like too simple because some of the things I'm like, you really can't solve this on your own. And I'm like, ugh, such a bad parent moment. Because, I mean, I just think of so many times where I have like had to figure out the most random, weird things. Like, because it's not like the usual stuff. Like you spill something on the ground. Everybody should figure out how to mop it up, like, or not that kind of stuff. It's like something bizarre happens and you're like, okay, how do I do this?
Yeah.
I have to use like leverage or I have to use like, I'm the only one here and I have to like somehow get this somewhere, like even when you were putting the thing on the top of your car, like you have to, you're like, okay, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to figure it out? You didn't just be like, hey, Mom, I know you're old, but come out and help. Like, I mean, she probably could have carried it on her head. She's so short.
But you were saying to because there was that couple walking by where I should have.
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge fan of asking for help from strangers because, like, if they're pissed off about it, like, who cares?
But it was one of those, like, I've always been, like, I've just been a very creative person early on. So I enjoy the process of figuring out how to do things. Like I remember when I was really little, I wanted to create a movie. So I figured out a way with using like shoe boxes and lighting to create a theater situation. And I created a roll. I taped together pieces of paper to create a film roll. And I did like all this stuff. But at the end, I was like very proud of it, like I don't think like Spielberg would be like, ooh, you're hired. But
I know. You never know. Maybe
he might have hired
for
me.
The next moon landing. You could make the spaceship.
No, but it's one of those, it's like a whole process, you know what I mean? Where I think now
I'm feeling mommy guilt because my kids don't know what to do with the toilet paper roll now that we're having this discussion. I don't even know how many toilet paper rolls I use.
You know what I was going to do in a home inspection just as a goof and see but I don't know if people would find it funny. But if I ever find a toilet paper that was put on like the way you don't like, I was going to take a picture and put it in as a home deficiency. Be like, you failed. And I'm like, I don't know if people are going to get my humor the same way that I
probably not. The insurance agent would find it funny. But it's true. Like you figured out a way. You wanted to like have a little home theater, so you figure out a way to do it. I remember my older son, like after I got divorced, I didn't have like as much money as I would have liked. But he had Matchbox cars, and I was like, shoot, like he wants to have like a case, but I don't really have like the extra funds to buy a case right now. So I did like take toilet paper rolls and I put them like in a box, and then he just slid his Matchboxes like in the toilet paper rolls and stuff like that. But like I have that creative solution, but my kids would never think of that because I didn't give them the ability to do that. Now the older three are adults now, and they do have some some unique creativity for solving their problems. Like my daughter's truck broke down and she was in like a tank top and like it looked like I hate to say it, she's never gonna watch this anyway. It looked like she had like men's boxer shorts on. So like she got out of her car and of course immediately she got help. Like and But the solution to her problem was to actually put like electrical tape around the thing that had broke.
Oh, goodness.
But hey, she solved the problem, got her truck to the house, and then my husband like fixed it for her. But, like in that scenario, she figured out like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm stuck on the side of the road. I've got this stranger helping me. She took like a picture of his vehicle and his license plate and whatever.
Yeah.
He ripped the exhaust off of her truck because that's what was dragging.
Oh.
I know. And but then she figured out how to like do something to get the truck going.
I remember I had this really bad car that would always break down in high school. So I remember my mom goes, well, I know you're having this problem with your car and it keeps breaking down. So I got you something. And I'm like,
a bicycle.
I'm like all excited. So she got me a blanket to keep warm.
When the car. That wasn't the solution you were looking for.
Oh, I was like, I was so hopeful. And then in the end, I got a nice blanket.
Man, I was thinking it was a skateboard or a bicycle or something like that. But...
Yeah, not even like a phone to call, like nothing. It was just,
we didn't have phones
here's a blanket.
when we were younger,
yeah,
right?
It was
I think I was in my early 20s when I got a cell phone. But like, if you're a parent, like you have to be more hands off. They're not going to die. Like, you can use your judgment, right, to when you need to help them. But they're not going to die. Like the swimming thing, I remember watching this clip from a movie where it was like a Western or something like that. And the guy says, you don't know how to swim? And the kid's like, no. And he's like, he just like booted him off the dock. And the mother's like, no, he doesn't know how to swim. And he's like, well, we're going to find out. Like,
yeah.
Like sometimes, can you imagine like if somebody saw that? You just like literally taking your foot and pushing them off the dock. They would think it was like child abuse at this point. But really, sometimes you have to be a little harsh in order for them to figure things out. Like, I'm not saying put them in a dangerous situation where they're going to be harmed in any way, shape, or form. But realistically, if you don't feel like making dinner one night and there's plenty of food in the house and you say to your 10-year-old, like, make something for yourself, they're going to figure it out. It might not be the choices, it might be chicken nuggets, but like, they're going to figure it out. So sometimes you have to be a bad parent in order to be a good parent.
Yeah.
Like I follow Tony Robbins. I think he's a fantastic motivator. Like when I need motivation, I have his tapes. I have all of his stuff. I just think he's fantastic. And one of the things he talks about is that, his mother had a series of people coming in and out of his life. And maybe people would look at that and be like, well, maybe she's not the best mom, right? But because of all of his struggles and the things that he had to go through is why he is the person today that wants to help so many people. He said, like, if she was what you would consider like a fantastic mom, he doesn't know if he would be as successful.
Yeah. No.
So you have to look at people like that struggle. Like maybe you don't see the struggle, but it's always there. If you ask them about their story, it's always there. It's not like, oh, my parents paved the way to greatness. A lot of times you do see, like in my profession, when I'm coaching people financially, a lot of people that are well off and they're coming to me for help on how to be more wealthy because they're very rich. A lot of their kids, like, unfortunately, like have a hard time during interviews for jobs. They've turned to like drugs or alcohol in an abusive situation. Like they have trouble with depression and anxiety. When I was younger, I was so busy solving problems on my own. I didn't have time to think about depression or anxiety. Like it was like, I don't have time for this. I need to go to my next job.
Yeah. I think when I was in college, I had like 5 jobs. It was like something crazy. And then same thing, like that was, and it was funny because I remember I was talking to somebody that I work with who was younger, and I was saying how like I had this job when I was like 11, and they're like, oh yeah, we weren't poor. We didn't have to work. And I'm like, well, we weren't poor, but at the same time, I didn't have to work either. But I got to the point where my mom made it uncomfortable enough for me to ask her for money if I wanted to go to a movie or whatever, that I didn't want to do it anymore. Like I just didn't even want to ask, that I wanted to be able to have my own money to, when I see something in the store that is important to me and, grabs me by the heart, that I could just buy it or something like that. So and then like even on the work situation, like again, I have real work projects and then I kind of make these like fake work projects to test.
To torment them. Oh, test them.
To kind of test them because if it's a skill set that I think they're lacking or they haven't fleshed it out yet, it's better to do it where there's no like, I could set something up. They don't know either way, but they'll flesh it out on their own and, learn things along the way. You don't want to do that with a paying client with a short timeline where you're really going to struggle with turning over a quality product. Like I never want the quality of the product to suffer, but it is one of those that sometimes, like I said, you have to vary the projects that you give, whether kids, employees, whatever, things that are, you kind of let them fly by the seat of their pants. That may be something more tutorial, that may be something, where they watch and learn. People learn, and I found this with all my employees, everybody learns differently. Some people learn, like they'll see it and that's their way of learning. Other people can hear it and they'll learn that way. Other people have to do it. Obviously all three are needed to really learn something in its totality, but everybody has that one go-to method that they prefer most. And if you don't touch upon all those, you could have a great employee that unfortunately you think is terrible and they hate the job and you just haven't taught them in a way that they could receive it,
Yeah, it's true. I don't know why this memory just came to mind, but I remember we had a dog. It was a black lab named Shadow when I was a kid, and I wanted to walk that dog so bad, but he was not trained. And so he pulled on the leash all the time. I remember saying to my brother, like, I want to walk the dog. I want to walk the dog. I want to walk. I was really young, like under 10. I want to walk the dog. And he's like, you can't. And then finally he was like, I guess I had bothered him like enough sufficiently where he handed me the leash. That dog dragged me across a concrete patio. And so and look at, like, I'm fine now. I'm in my 40s. I'm fine. Like, I don't know which scars on my leg from that concrete patio. I think he got in severe trouble for that one because I went in the house bleeding. But like I had to learn from that horrific experience that like, oh, okay, maybe I can't walk a dog that's not trained very well because I'm not strong enough and stuff like that. So now future dogs, I wasn't like just grabbing a leash and doing all kinds of stuff. So he was being mean. I'm sure he was doing it just for the pure satisfaction of seeing me drag across a concrete patio because this particular brother, I know that's how he is. But but in reality, he did teach me a valuable lesson. And like without some of that roughness, I would just go along thinking like I wouldn't learn the lesson like on how to protect myself or how to keep myself alive.
Yeah.
And like now it's like what, 30 something years later, like I'm fine. Like
yes, you can walk a dog.
Yeah. Like listen, I have trained all of mine to walk beside me. Like mine can do it now without a leash. Like it was a very important lesson. But all of those little things, like, yes, I was very hurt for like probably 2 weeks it took me to heal. But the lasting impact of teaching me to problem solve or teaching me boundaries and stuff like that is important. So yes, your child may get hurt. Their feelings might get hurt. Like they may feel stupid or they may feel frustrated or they may feel, aggravated or like, that they can't do it. But that's a temporary problem for a long-term solution of helping them be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
We got to wrap stuff up.
Can I just state one? It just reminded me of one little story. Hey, it's super quick.
It doesn't matter to me. It's the viewers that now have to watch a 35-minute video.
No, but it was one of those. It just reminded me. So I remember when I was really young, I was riding my bicycle and I fell off my bicycle, and ended up having my parents had this apartment building and we had to go up like 4 flights to get to our thing. And there was a guy who knocked on the door of my parents' apartment building. They wanted to buy the apartment building. And my mom's like, it's not for sale. He's like, that's ridiculous. We just haven't negotiated. So they're having this heated discussion. And I walk in and I literally knocked all my teeth out of So I literally, that's how I lost all my baby teeth, is I was face first on the concrete.
Oh my God.
And my whole face got scraped. And I remember I came in, just literally went to the linen closet, got a towel to like put in my mouth to wipe up the blood because blood was getting everywhere. And the guy's like, do you need it like your dog? And my mom's like, yeah, she's fine. So even with stuff like that.
You're the youngest of a group of kids. So.
Yeah. But even stuff with like, a kid gets a little boo-boo and you're like, oh my God. You just teach them to overreact to little things, So I think it's really important. But okay, now we can wrap things up.
We were just talking in my family about my son fell off his bike and got a stick in his leg down to the bone and then ran home like a quarter mile.
Yeah. And he probably set the long distance record, the speed record or something.
The next topic I'm super excited about because I just had a recent experience that helped answer this question, which I think I'm pretty confident, but sometimes the devil seeks in. So we're going to be talking about what's our purpose? Why are we even here? What are we doing on earth?
Yeah.
So obviously we're going to have different views and different takes, but maybe it'll help some of you to have this discussion. But until we do that, we want to tell you, never stop learning.
And never stop laughing. We love that you join us every week, and we'll see you soon.
Things are truly better with us.